Hello, I'm Don McCredie. I'm a Realtor Emeritus with RE/MAX Equity Group. It is my distinct pleasure today to interview the newest Realtor Emeritus in the state of Oregon, Joanne Sterling. Joanne, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So you've been around for a while. We know this is a great honor. Maybe it might be our secret, but
could be. You're right.
But having served in the association for 40 years, having served in a leadership capacity. So my hearty congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
And
appreciate that.
Just like to ask you a few questions, and we'd like to share with the audience.
Of course.
Some things. Could you tell me, when did you start in real estate and where was it?
At the beginning of time.
Exactly. A long time ago.
No, I was licensed in 1973. I'd just come out of college, and I didn't actually use the license. I was a NAR member, but I didn't really use the license until mid-70s, but it's been a while.
I guess.
Yeah.
So things have changed.
Totally.
In those years.
Totally.
Let's go
Very
back
different.
And tell us about your first week. How are things different?
Well, gosh, I have to remember that. So they marched me in, the broker marched me in, and this is your desk, and I had a little nameplate, and I sat there and didn't know what to do next. And so I just drove around, and the first week, to be honest, I always loved to read, and I always had books in my car, and I would drive up to Griffith Park, the top at the observatory, look at the city, wonder how I was going to make any kind of impact, because my license was in Los Angeles, and then eventually I would just sit in the car and read for an hour or so, because I was too scared to go out to talk to people.
I can remember those days.
Yeah.
They put you down in a booth and give you a telephone and say, go get them.
And go get them, and how do you do that? And so then they handed me a map, and they said, knock on 200 doors, and when you're finished, come back. And that's why I was up at the top of a hill reading a book, because I was too scared to knock on a door or talk to a stranger. And in those days, it was really rough. You had to have 2 listings or 2 transactions before you could have any privileges in the office, like floor time, which was our big source of business. In those days, people would call when they saw a sign. A new agent was not allowed to take those calls. But yeah, it was a little rough to begin, but I worked around it, no problem.
Well, there's a high turnover rate in this business, so being here that long and being that successful is something to shout about.
You have to, you had to really kind of think past all the rules in order to be who you are and be able to connect with the public in a way that you could serve them. So my little trick was to come in early. I was in the office every morning at 7 o'clock. And in those days, they didn't have answering services. So when the phone rang, I would just pick up the phone. And I was taking all the calls until the other agents wandered in at 9.
Putting in long hours.
Yeah, very long.
I remember that too. Just nothing comes that easy.
Not a bit, no.
Okay,
often 7 in the morning till sometimes 9 at night, yeah.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
And what made you decide to get into real estate?
Well, the truth is I didn't have a lot of options. I'd never wanted to be a salesperson. That was never my goal. But I always loved real estate. My father was a builder in construction, and he used to take me through framed houses and explain where the bedrooms were going to go. I just had a real love for it, and I loved the architecture, and I was a docent for a number of organizations in Los Angeles, seen a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright properties and a lot of wonderful Schindler, Neutra, all those guys. That's my passion. And so I was educated as a teacher, and I was in my first year as a secondary teacher, and suddenly there were massive layoffs in the district, and I could not get a job. So I taught briefly for a public school, and I could make more money as a secretary than as a teacher in a private school. So I was looking around for options and knew some people, and they said, why don't you try this? And I said, I've got nothing to lose. So.
Well, I think your teaching background is a real asset to this profession.
I agree. We're more consultants than anything. We're not selling anything. What we're doing is guiding people, teaching them the process along the way if they want to learn, helping them understand from the beginning to the middle to the end, helping them overcome some of the bumps in the road that happen in a transaction, and kind of explaining it out so they have a basis for making decisions. That's really more what we do. And I love the teaching part.
Well, I think that's important. When you start out, it seems that you work a lot with the entry-level buyers, and they're scared, frankly, and they don't know all the answers, and you have to kind of guide them, and you seem very adept at that sort of thing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's part of the fun. I love technology, and I understand when people prefer to be online with their own sources to get information about houses, but at the end of the day, it's the person with boots on the ground, with knowledge of a neighborhood, with understanding of the technical parts, and no Google search is going to give you that information. I'm sorry. And a lot of it comes from experience. I can tell you a million things that can go wrong, and you wouldn't anticipate that if you're new and coming to a transaction for the first time. And a lot of times I see the little marks in the road that help me maneuver the people and the transaction to avoid a little accident. So
the technology part's interesting. When we started out almost the same time.
Yeah.
The technology was a multiple book and your car keys. That was about all you did. You got them in the car and you drove them around until they found something they want. How is it different today? And how do you think it affects people who've been in the business versus, say, brand new people?
Wow, good question.
Yeah.
I think initially that part of our job of finding houses was really on us. And we had to be out looking at property every day and developing a sort of a sixth sense about what house would appeal to what person or what house would be a good match. Now people are doing all of that themselves. I'm finding in some ways that makes it incredibly easier because I'm not having to do all the research to bring the properties to people. But at the same time, it makes it harder because now people are looking at everything, and so they want to see everything, even though, in my opinion, certain neighborhoods would not be a fit, certain house styles wouldn't be a fit, or often I've seen the house and the pictures made it look a whole lot better than it really was. They're not telling you, even though you do the map and you see by Google Earth, you can tell that there's an alley in the back. They're not telling you what goes on behind the house like that. And so I find often technology gets in the way of the process because we have so much choice that it often keeps a buyer from zeroing in on what's really best for them.
Yeah, I could understand too much information overload.
Yeah.
So we still have a task of taking them inside the house.
Exactly.
Which, and they've generally been inside the house online. So it's a fascinating process. In some ways, the technology is a blessing because it saves us a lot of gasoline and it saves us a lot of time. But in another way, it's a bit of a hindrance, I think, because it can maybe create some false expectations and some disappointments when they actually get inside the house.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
So we still have how do you think our task has been altered by the technological age versus where we started?
I really do think our value is less in the salesy part and much more in the guidance part. And also, frankly, people often come to a transaction thinking once they pick the house, it's going to be a quick and easy process from the beginning to the end, and quite often it is not.
With the advent of technology, we've actually been threatened by some industries saying they're going to take our jobs away from us. And do you see that as a possibility? Do you think we'll still have a task, have a career, given the ability to know all about the house and about the neighborhood before we get there?
It's a great question. I think it's something that's on everyone's mind at this point, and having been in the business for so long, my overview of it is that we may be going through a phase.
Well, can you tell me, are you as excited about real estate today as the day you started?
I am, actually, I really am. I'm in a number of classes. I'm doing webinars almost every day of the week, and I'm learning more about social media, a little bit about blogging, expanding that idea, but more important is just kind of embracing what is changing and trying to change with it so that I'm still of service.
So you can see that you're still learning every day, still trying to up your game.
Absolutely, absolutely. And continue to stay in classes and learn new ideas of how to serve the public better, and at the same time not burn out with it or be afraid that maybe I won't be employable. I think I'm still of value.
So what advice would you give to brokers starting out now?
I think first to understand that this is a career. This isn't a quick fix for a fast job for fast and easy money. This is a career that builds over a lifetime, and it's something a little bit of a calling. You know, my daughter is a doctor, and I do kind of the same things where I'm connecting with people as a doctor or a good teacher does. It's a calling, it's not just a job. So I would advise a young agent to commit to it, understand what it is that they want to contribute, and then to learn everything they can learn, and not just about going out and making a transaction and getting money, but also the intricacies of the transactions they're involved in and the neighborhoods that they're serving in, and the kinds of construction and some of the pitfalls that buyers can face that buyers may not even know about. Just learn every day, go out and see property every day, and continue to understand that our job is to serve.
Now, what would you say to those getting in the business that think it's going to be an easy pastime? Maybe they got their own hours, maybe they don't have to work as hard as they're used to. Yeah, you laugh at that.
I do, because the good ones, the people who make a good living and stay, and the people who have good reputation too, by the way, are those people who put in the time. And it's not 9 to 5. It can be, like my day started at 7 this morning. I've already talked to a couple of clients by 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'll probably continue to be working until 6 or 7 o'clock tonight. That's the name of the game.
This is a Saturday too, by the way.
Yes, it is a Saturday. There are a lot of days when you might have time off, and that's one of the beauties. And I can schedule my work around my life, which is another beautiful thing about our profession. But still, you have to put the hours in. It's not easy. It's not an easy gig.
And you make yourself available to the new agents to help them along the way.
That's kind of my joy. Yeah, I
think
really love it.
That's very evident. I can
Yeah.
see that you enjoy doing that.
Thank you.
You enjoy bringing people along. So good for you.
Thank you.
And again, congratulations on this prestigious award.
Thank you. I appreciate your time too. Thank you.
You bet.